Welcome to another episode of Dad Up, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me. It is about freaking time I've had this guy on my show. He and I have been what you'd call social media friends for several years. And I just cannot believe it's taken this long to have him on my show. But here we are, and I'm excited to have him on. I feel like I know him like a brother. We are practically neighbors. And I'm really excited to kind of dive into his backstory. He's a phenomenal family man. He loves his wife, he loves his boys. And I just think it's just a perfect guest to have on my show. But my good friend Jeff Cronin has joined me on Dad Up. Welcome to the show, brother. About time, right?
What's up? Good to be on. I've been watching you for a very long time. Love your show, and I'm excited to finally chat. And one day we will golf. Golfing will
Yes,
happen for us. I'm in for
yes.
that.
Golfing has to happen. Even if we go to golf, we tell our wives we're going golf and we end up at the 19th hole. I'm okay with that too. But golfing is definitely in the cards sooner or later. Maybe in the spring or summer when it starts to warm up a little bit. We just have to solidify it, put it on the calendar, and make it happen. But I'm really excited about getting that done as well, so we can finally meet in person. But before we get into all your stories with your sons, let's dive into a little bit of backstory about Jeff, because as I said when I did the intro here, he's super good with his kids. He's super involved. If you haven't seen his social media, you should go see it because it's like just about every picture on a social media is him with his boys or him with his wife. So he's a die-hard family man, which I absolutely love and respect about him. So let's dive into a back history of you, Jeff, kind of how you grew up and what you got into, how you got into the things that you're doing now. And then obviously, this is a family show, so I want to know about your family as well.
For sure. Living in SoCal, I'm originally from Minnesota. Grew up, born and raised in
Yeah,
Minnesota.
I know
I
you're a
moved.
Vikings fan. I get
I know.
it.
Oh man, the Vikings. I don't even, the thing is, people are like, "Are you shocked what happened to the Vikings?" I'm like, no, I've seen it before. This is what
Right.
happens every time.
I'm a Raider fan, so I feel you, bro.
I moved to LA to be an actor, actually, when I was about 20. And that was fun. I kind of messed around with that for a few years. My leaving acting, I tore my ACL playing flag football. And being an actor out here, it's you need insurance, and I didn't have very good insurance. So I was like, I need to get an actual real job. Kind of fell into working with special needs students and have just gone that direction ever since. So it's kind of my story of being in LA. And I married my wife is from LA, so I'm not going anywhere. I'm here now.
And what about your kids? How old are they? And what are they into? And I see you all the time with them. So how has that evolved?
Like you said, growing up, we just spoke a little bit beforehand. My dad was a great dad, very involved, but worked nights. He's a grocery store manager. So during the week, I didn't see my dad very much. He'd work the late shift. So I think he started around 3 and would end at 10, 10:30, 11. So most of the week, I didn't see my dad. So my mom was very involved with the sports and all that stuff. And I think you said before, it's like I didn't want that same thing. I am a teacher, and now I have time. I'm not going to miss games. I'm also 40, so I became a dad a little bit later, I feel like, in life, and I'm done going out. I'm not. If you're going to pull me away from my kids at this point, it's got to be for something very meaningful for me to go do because that's where I want to be with my kids and my family in general.
What does your wife do for a living?
She works at the Cal State Northridge here in the offices, and she's doing that. And I work at Granada Hills High School. So we're all very close in proximity to each other when we work. My kids go to the school I teach at in the elementary section of that school. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's super close. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's interesting because my wife, who is a school teacher herself, she you just got your master's degree, and I'm assuming in education, you just got your master's degree. My
I'm
wife,
working on it. I'm working on the master's. I'm currently going to school still at actually said university, Cal State Northridge. But I'm chipping away at the master's right now.
okay, cool. Well, my wife just finished this last month, got her master's in administration
Mm,
for education, and she's hoping to, after this year, she's been a school teacher now for 20 years. She's hoping to move into that more of that admin role. She wants to be a vice principal or a principal of some sort.
for sure.
So she's moving into that. But yeah, the cool thing about our story, we live in Chino Hills. And my wife was a school teacher at a private Christian school that goes basically pre-K all the way up through junior high. And all my nieces and nephews, including my two sons, so there was nine of them, all went to the school where my wife taught. So it was kind of cool having my wife being the teacher there, and then all the nieces and nephews and my boys being at the same school where she could kind of, watch over them, be involved in what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure that having your boys at that same school is pretty cool.
So like, and I can like leave work and say, I'm going to the other campus to read a book to my kids' class, or like they're never going to say anything. I'm at the same school. Like they're like, oh yeah, go do your thing. And eventually, if everything goes away, well, I wanted to or they wanted to, they'll be at the same high school that where I'm working. So that'll be cool to like. I mean, I'm sure they maybe not as cool for them because dorky dad's going to be there teaching when they're there, but right now they think it's cool.
Yeah. Now I know at one point, and you're talking about eventually starting it back up, but I know at one point you had your podcast, and then
Mhm.
I know that you were kind of down the inventor side too, where you were kind of bringing up making different. Am I right? You were making different products for.
Doing that. How it all started. So I do the Jeff the Baby Dude, right? Like,
Right,
hey, which I'm in like a crisis right now because I don't have babies anymore. So
right.
like, I'm just like Jeff the Dude now. I don't even know what to do with it. But when we first had our first son 6 years ago, my wife would show me videos of things that we needed, and it was always no offense, like the women are doing a great job reviewing products, and I would just not relate to them at all. They're like, "Oh, this is so great here." They're on their perfectly like manicured bed behind them, like that. I just don't relate to it, and I was like looking for dads who reviewed stuff, and there weren't any. So I just started going down that road of this thing kind of sucks. Wish we didn't spend that much money on this, or this one's super cheap. It's great. And I just kind of rocketed down there and it kind of took off a little bit. But now that I don't have babies, I'm like, what do I do? Do I mess with toys? Like my kids like this, like the Switch. Like, what am I doing now? But that's kind of how I went. I like did the interviews for a little bit, which is a lot of fun. Met very cool people, just like you do on here. Made relationships that we still speak and talk. I've met race car drivers and old football players and things like that, which is really cool. But it's if y'all don't know, like this guy here is doing a lot of work because this stuff is not easy.
No, it's not. I think you and I have had a couple of similar guests on, but yeah, it is not easy running a podcast for sure. And I'm sure with two little guys, how old are they now?
6 and 4.
6 and 4. So even at 6 and 4, holy cow. My wife and I were just talking about it the other day. I'm not kidding you. Just like 2 nights ago, we were talking about it, thinking about all these parents that have these little kids that are doing this, that, and the other with, two, three, four kids. And my wife and I only had two boys, and they are, they're in their 20s now, 26 and 23. So they're grown and out of the house and all that kind of stuff. But we're thinking back to the times that they were in sports, and I coached, I mean, as you know, I coached every single one of their teams that they were on. My wife was always the team mom. So we were constantly on the go. And we think back to like those times and we go, how in the world did we do it? Like how like we are like it takes a lot to get us out of the house past 9 o'clock. I mean, we just exhausted, and it's like, how in the world were we doing that? Because when my boys were playing varsity basketball, we weren't home before 10:30, and sometimes we hadn't even eaten yet. And I told my wife, I said, you know what? It was one of those things where that was our job, and we just did. We just sacrificed, and that's what we did. And now, having the luxury of not having to do that anymore, But we just think, you know, these poor people. I look at parents that are out late, like I've got people that work for me that have young kids and they post on social media where at 9 o'clock they're out at the soccer fields freezing their tails off. And I go, God bless you, because I couldn't do that right now. And I mean, what about your boys? Are they playing sports? Are they into I mean, they seem pretty active boys. They seem like they're pretty active.
He too, like that, like the oldest one is completely different than the other one. Like
Right.
the
It always
four,
happens
their
that way.
personalities are completely different. The older one's about to, he's done. So this is the thing about him. He's super athletic. Like I love sports. I grew up playing sports. So everything he touches, he's good at. We bought a basketball hoop for him. He can throw, he can hit, he can run. He's fast, but he doesn't want to play on a team. And he's sick, so it could change. Like we're trying not to like jam him into it. So like right now, he's finally getting okay with wanting to do track. He wants to run because he's starting to like
Okay.
basketball. Because I watch basketball quite a bit. Minnesota Timberwolves. But we watch a lot of basketball, so now he's kind of getting into basketball. So he wants to get fast so he can play basketball. So he touches everything. The little one is not as good right away, but has that competitive. He will do it until he gets it. So they're very, very, very different. And he's done baseball, like t-ball. They're both in swimming. So it's a lot of work. It's just trying to like also massage like what they want to do is always very tough. And we signed the older one up for baseball, and everything was all good. And actually, it's a good question for you too. Is like I took him to baseball, and I was going to coach, and so we go through the tryouts for 6-year-olds too. By the way, like I understand you got to like level their playing field, I guess, but it was completely dark outside. It was cold. It's kind of like a 2-hour tryout. I'm like, this is crazy. But he was doing good until my wife showed up and he saw her and then he wanted to quit. So like there's a weird dynamic to like he kind of knew he'd go after mama a little bit. And then we did end up like we dropped baseball. So we're trying to like not push him too hard. What are your thoughts on the pushing of the sports?
That's a good question, and I wouldn't push them.
Right.
Now, one of the things that we did with our boys as they grew up, especially when they were younger, we said, "Hey, obviously school is important. We want you to focus on school, but you're not going to just come home, do your homework, and want to play video games or want to sit on the couch and watch TV all night. We want you to have an extracurricular activity. Now, you can do anything that you want, whether it's a sport, an instrument, whatever the case may be, you're going to do something else besides just vegging at night and getting sucked into
100%.
video games or TVs. So my boys just naturally gravitated towards sports. My wife and I played sports. My wife played sports throughout her elementary years. I played sports all the way up through high school. And so they just naturally wanted to play sports. So it was kind of an easy thing for us. The crazy thing is, my older son, um, he wanted to play baseball. He played baseball from the age of 4 all the way up through about 10, to when he got to a point, and I think it was about 7 or 8, he started playing basketball too. But I think it was about 10 years old. He didn't want to play baseball anymore. He was not the best at it. He was great at fielding. I don't know if is sucked the right word, but he was not that great at hitting. And one of the problems is he has a vision problem in his left eye and he hits right-handed. So he's having to turn his head a little too much to try to see the ball. And so he struggled a little bit at hitting. He was a phenomenal pitcher, but he just was not into it. He thought the game was too boring. He liked basketball because it was pretty interactive. Like he was constantly back and forth, constantly going. So what we thought was, let's try him in soccer and see how he does there. He hated soccer. The crazy thing about soccer was he was a phenomenal goalie. He would stand in there and block everything that came his way, but he hated soccer. Our one rule for our boys was, if you start something, I don't care if it's day 3. If you start something and you don't like it, you're not quitting. You're going to finish the season, because that's not fair to the coach. That's not fair to the team. So you'll finish the season. I had a very interesting conversation, and I've shared it on my show before, Jeff, but I had a very interesting conversation with my son. I was the coach of his team, and we got in the car after practice, and he said, Dad, I really have to talk to you about something. And I have to admit, I'm a little nervous to do so. Like I don't I'm I'm scared to talk to you about this. And I said, wait, what's going on? Is everything okay? First I want to know if he was, are you okay? Is something up? And he's like, no, I'm fine. I just need to talk to you about this. He said, I don't know how you're going to take this, but I don't want to play baseball anymore. And I said, okay, why not? Are you getting bullied? Is there something? He's like, no, I just don't like it. It's boring to me. I'm just not into it.
Yeah.
I'm going because you like me to play, but I'm just not into it and I really don't want to play anymore. And I said, okay, that's fine. And he goes, wait, you're not mad? And I go, no, I'm not mad. I said two things. You have to finish the season. And he goes, "Oh, I totally know that. Like I'm on board. I will finish the season." And I said, "Number two, you're not going to just drop baseball and not do anything else." And he goes, "No, I am going to do something else. I want to play basketball. That's all I want to play." And I said, "Done deal." And he's like, "So you're okay with it?" I go, "I'm absolutely okay with it. If you don't like baseball, I don't want to force it on you." So my recommendation is don't force it on him. You've got to find something that he's interested in. Maybe it's karate. He doesn't like to play on a team sport or is not interested on a team sport. And maybe it's golf, Jeff. Maybe pick him. Maybe have him try golf. Sign him up with an instructor and have him try golf and see if he likes that. Maybe it's something as simple as, trying out for dance or something like that, or acting, something along those lines. But yeah, I wouldn't push him because what he's going to do is he's going to start to um, reject you. He's going to start to hold grudges towards you and your wife. Like he's going to start to rebel. And you don't want those kinds of things. Definitely
He's like
encourage. Go
he's a
ahead.
super active kid. Like he's the kind of kid that he never sits down. Like he's playing, even if we're some a movie's on, he's wiggly. Like he's just got energy. So yeah, getting him in something I think is a
Yeah, well,
big deal.
maybe karate, taekwondo, jujitsu, something along those lines might be something he might be interested in. And then maybe it's golf. You like to golf, and you can say, "Hey, let's go to the driving range, and I'll get you a little set of golf clubs. Let's go to the driving range and hit some balls together and see what you think of that." That might be something for him because it's not really a team sport. It is, but it isn't, especially at that age.
For
And
sure. Yeah.
and that might be something he's interested in as well.
Baseball's funny too. Like you said, your son, like I coach my son's little league team, and you can't take the boring out of it, right? Like my son, who had fun, you hit off the tee, you get to run a little bit, it's cool. But when they go out to the field, like my son's like literally laying on the grass, just
Right.
chilling. You get older, like your son was, it's still you still find it boring. Like
Yeah.
it's not like that doesn't change. You just really have to be into it. You're like, I grew up playing baseball too, and there's just there's not a lot of action. And
Yeah.
how hard is it to hit a round ball with a round bat?
Right. Right.
It's wild. Like the
Right.
contact space is like nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And my younger son was just the opposite. He played from the ages. Now he started at around 3 because he was out there when I was coaching my older son. So he was out there with me, just kind of tagging along and doing the stuff like in practices and stuff. I had him participating with his brother's team because he was interested in it. And he played baseball all the way through high school. So he loved it. He loved it that much. And then he eventually, over the years, basketball became his sport, and he ended up getting a basketball scholarship to play in college and all that kind of stuff. But even in college, he got burned out. 2 years into college, he's like, "Dad, I don't want to play basketball anymore. I'm over it. I'm not like he's 6'3", but he's like, I'm not like this elite basketball player. He started on his basketball team in college, but he's like, I'm not this elite. I'm not going to the NBA, nor do I want to go to the NBA. And I'm tired. I'm always at the either school, the gym, or the weight room. And I'm over it. I'm like tired of it. So he ended up quitting after 2 years. And that was fine with me. It's like, dude, you ran your course. It's all good. nothing to be ashamed of there. So
The gym and stuff like it, that there's nothing to shake your head about there for sure.
yeah. Um, well, that's cool. I mean, you'll find something. You just gotta, kind of play around with different ideas. Maybe you and your wife sit down and just go, okay, he's not into this, he's not into that. Let's jot some ideas down that maybe we can throw at him and see what he's interested in. And I'm sure you'll find something.
I'm excited to see, like, as the track starts next month for him. He already asked us to, he wants just me to take him, and he wants me to sit to the back where he can't see me. Like, it's interesting to hear. He's got like stipulations to like, sure, if that's gonna make it so you want to run, I'll chill in the back. You won't see me, but I'm gonna be watching, but you won't see me.
I wonder if that's and don't take this the wrong way, Jeff, but I wonder if that is a almost a fear of disappointment.
Be absolutely.
Yeah, because a lot of kids, like I coach dads and stuff like that, and a lot of times I tell them, look, when you miss stuff, it's hard on your kids whether you think it is or not, because when they're playing in their sport and they look up in those stands, they don't care about seeing all those other people. They want to see you. They want to see their family there supporting them, and for him to, either it's he's afraid of disappointing, or it makes him nervous, that you're there.
It's important for him to know that I am there
Yeah, oh, it's absolutely
for
important for
sure.
him. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, maybe that's an idea for you and your wife. Just kind of sit down and jot down some ideas and see what might pique his interest, and maybe get him involved in the thought process as well. When you guys are writing down ideas, maybe pull him aside and say, hey, we want to sit down and talk to you. We want to figure out what kind of things you're into, what kind of things you like to do. And I mean, there's a million things out there that he could be doing that he might like. Um, well, let me ask you this. When it comes to your kids, I mean, you are always doing stuff with them. They seem to enjoy kind of that time with you. How do you find, because you're a teacher, I mean, how do you find that balance between trying to do the stuff that you need to do with them, and obviously, a teacher's life isn't easy. I know because I've been married to one for a long time. How do you find that balance and how do you work into that?
It is tough because being married to a teacher, like sometimes you got to take stuff home with you. It is nice that the days aren't crazy long at the actual job itself. So
Mhm.
there are times to like, hey, I can put this aside and make it work with the boys. Like like you said before, I don't want to miss things. I want to
Right.
be involved with them. I
Right.
know I have them, like with older kids in their 20s, like I have this much time with them. And I think
Mhm.
being a dad in my 40s, like I've never been more aware of time in my entire life. Like 20s went fast. I enjoyed my 20s. I got married in my late 20s, early 30s, and then it was straight to having kids. But I was prepared for that. But when you see them growing, I'm like, oh my God, they were just a little kid right over here.
Mhm.
And when you see them grow, you're like, something's happening to me over here too. So I know I'm getting older, and I just try to soak in every minute. Is there times at work where I'm like, I should do this right now, but I don't? Absolutely. Because I'm like, I'll make it up somewhere. I'll make it up somewhere else. Another one I've kind of got into, like, 'cause I've always been into working out and going back to school, teaching, having kids, trying to find some sort of time for myself as well. So what do? I wake up at 5 in the morning, figure it out. It's not easy. I'm falling asleep at like 8:30, 9 o'clock every night. Um, but just trying to squeeze everything is not easy. Like as a parent, if you don't sacrifice, you're probably not doing it.
Yeah.
Like you have to give up something. Do I miss going out with my buddies? I used to be in rec basketball leagues all the way through my 20s into my 30s. I just don't have time to do that. Like going out golfing more often. I'm kind of over the going out to the bars with my buddy. Like I'm gonna go drink. I'm fine. But things like that, like there's just a lot of sacrificing, and it's weird to have friends that don't have kids that have a hard time recognizing that like those are the sacrifices I had to make. It's not that I don't appreciate them anymore, but I'm pouring myself into my kids because it's gonna be done before I know it, and they're gonna
Right.
be moved out, and I want to see them at 4 and 5 and 6 and 10 and 12, and I want to be there for those moments without trying to be like what they call a helicopter parent. I don't want to like be hovering over them all the time, but If they want to play with me, I'm not going to say no. If they want to go out and play basketball, I'm not going to say no. So I just want to be active for them.
Yeah. I think there's if I'm stating it correctly, there's a statistic out there that says something along the lines of 70% of the time you spend with your kids ends by the time they're 12 years old.
Wild.
So that time, and I kind this it kind of makes sense to me because when they start hitting those preteen years and then into their teenage years, the last thing they want to do is hang out with Jeff. That's just the last thing they want to do because they're changing, their hormones are changing, they're trying to discover who they are as a person, they're trying to identify their identity. They want to hang out with their friends. There's going to be no more of the giving dad a hug when you drop them off at school. Pictures with them. They're just gonna go through these phases where they're trying to learn how to be independent because they're trying to discover who they are. And so that time really, I mean, it stops and it can be crushing as a parent when you are like, dude, you were like my little buddy and wanted to do everything with me, and now you don't even want to like be seen within 3 feet of me. It's nothing, you're going to go through it, Jeff. It's nothing personal. I tell all the dads that I talk to, hang tight, just buckle up, make sure you're there for them as much as possible. Ask them to do stuff still, but if they don't want to, don't take offense. And Trust me, by the time they hit the 17, 18, 19 year mark, they're going to start to come around again because like I said, my boys are 26 and 23 and they're two of my best friends and we go golfing together and we hang out with each other and we laugh and joke. We still butt heads, but we laugh and joke and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I went through the same phase. As involved as I was, I went through the same phase. My only benefit to them going through those teenage years is I was the coach on all their teams. So I was always there, regardless if they wanted me there or not. I was there because I was coaching. It made it a little bit easier for me. But your boys will get to that phase. And so, yeah, you have to enjoy those times now for sure.
You said that right now. Like, that's heartbreaking, Like, because no one thinks about like you're raising kids, but you also still have feelings and emotions. Like being a parent and a dad, you're doing this every stage. You're doing this for the first time. Like I'm a 6-year-old dad for the first time. When he's 10, I'll be a dad for the first time with a 10-year-old. So it's a weird battle to like keep going over and over. And it's not very often that anybody will ask the mom or dad, like, how are you holding up with this? Like, are you good? It doesn't happen. It's always like, what do we focus on with the kids? So I think it's important to like take care of yourself and know like it's okay to feel sad or moments like that. Like I've had moments of like hard days having little kids. Those days are a little bit more gone where I was home by myself. I remember my wife went out. I don't know if she went out with her sister or whatever. And it was just a hard day with the kids. And they went to take a nap and I just stood in the kitchen and I started to cry. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not even a crier. Where did that come from? I had no idea. It's just one of those days you're like, I'm in it. Like I'm in it. And it does affect you. Even if you're trying to show that it doesn't, you're affected for sure.
Right. Do you and your wife do one-on-one kind of dates with them, with each of them, they're not being having to compete for your attention?
It's something that we've actually been discussing lately because
Oh,
the
good.
older one tends to gravitate towards me and the little one gravitates toward my wife. So
Okay.
that switch needs to happen for sure. It's a weird thing too, because like I'm more extrovert, my wife's more introvert, and we have one kid of each. So the little extrovert one goes to my wife, the introvert goes to me. Like it's a weird yin yang thing that's happening. But yeah, I think that's a great recommendation for any parents that have more than one kid is like to take them out singly. So you
Yeah.
get time just for them. But yeah, it's one thing that we're trying to kick around. But when you have the weekend, you're like, let's go do everything together all the time.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's an interesting one to get to.
That's, it doesn't have to be something where it takes all day. It could just be an hour or two, maybe even if it's just a meal where you two go to a meal. Like you're even, I mean, both boys are little enough to where they appreciate this, even if it's just to an ice cream shop or something like that, where it's just the two of you taking out the little guy who wants to hang out with mom more than hanging out with
Right.
you, just taking him out and saying, "Hey, I got a special treat for you. I want to take you to it. I want to show you some, I want to have some chat time with you and hang out with you, just you and me, and then take him for ice cream." You know what I mean? Something like that is.
Keep to yourself what you're going to do though, because if ice cream is brought up to the little one and the other one hears it, then he's like, I want to go with daddy
Oh
too.
no, no,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta like
You got to tell him.
separate
You got
them.
to tell him it's just your and my. It's like this is you. This is mine and your little secret. You're
Yep.
not going to tell mom because mom will want to go. You're not going to tell your brother because he's going to want to
Yep.
go. It's just me and you. We're going to sneak out of the house. We're going to go have ice cream together. Make it fun. Yeah, those little one-on-one times are especially important, especially when you have two boys that are pretty close in age. They're going to
Yeah.
compete against each other,
Oh my God, everything. I
and they're going to
can't
compete
already.
against. Yeah.
Everything already is like the we drive. So our commute to school work is like 30-minute drive, and I take them to school every day, which is probably my favorite part of the day. Some days is worse, they're fighting in the back, whatever. But they compete about who sees a garbage truck first, who like who gets their seatbelt on faster. I'm like, dude, you all need to chill out. Like it's too much. Like the competition is fierce. We just got a Nintendo Switch. It's kind of like a whole family thing. We can play Mario Kart, Mario Party, and all that. I don't know if you ever played Mario Party, but oh my God, like I literally had to get up during the middle of the game and shut it off because there was tears. They're crying, they're fighting. I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. It sucks all the fun out of everything. So they need to learn. They need to learn to lose. They need to learn how to win nice. And
Yeah,
I don't
unfortunately,
want to win.
Jeff, that's not going to end
Oh man.
when you have two boys. I mean, my boys, like I said, 26 and 23, and they still compete against each other. They are really best buds. They really are. They talk to each like my son, my older son lives in Arizona, and he talks to his younger brother more than he talks to us. I mean, he's constantly either they're texting or they're on their what the Snapchat stupid thing, Snapchat talking to each other or they're, calling each other. And when we're together, it's like I can see the competition going back and forth with them. And sometimes they do it out of fun, sometimes they do it just to poke a little bit, but they give it to each other, which, they don't turn into, full on fist fights or anything like that. But they still competing. It's the male, it's the boy in them. It's the alpha dog in them. That's what it is. And so yeah, that ain't
See
going
with
away,
my
Jeff.
I see with my guys, like so my 6-year-old, they know how to pick on each other too. So it's like my 6-year-old knows more words, so he can use his words to get after him. My little guy chooses violence every single time. So like he's a pusher, he'll go after him, like, dude, you gotta stop. And he's big. They weigh the same. One's 4, one's 6, and they're like the same size. Like they get confused as twins all the time because the little one's gonna be the big one. So I always tell the 6-year-old, like, dude, he coming. Like relax, maybe be easy on him because he's coming for you. So
Yeah, we used to tell Brett that, my younger one, because he's a stockier kid than my older son. Now they're I want to say they're probably within a half an inch of each other, but they're pretty close in age at the 6'3" mark. And my younger son is stockier than my older son, but my older son is stronger because if he could live at the gym, he would. So he's constantly working out in the gym. But I there's been a few times where I've had to kind of break them up because
understood. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they would have killed each other. I had an incident just a couple years ago where I was sitting in the living room. Both of them were home. Maybe it was over a weekend or a holiday or some stuff. They were both home. They were getting into it, arguing a little bit. And then the next thing I know, I'm hearing some ruckus going on, and I hear my wife in the back room, and she's like, "Bryan, I need your help." Because she could not break them apart because they were throwing down. I mean, they were going to town on each other. So, I mean, that happens, whatever, but they love each other. They're best buds. But yeah, that's just boys, man.
See it. I see it already. They'll be playing so nice together, and they wake up earlier than everybody in the house. Like 6 a.m. they're up, but they play together until they go to school or whatever. But yeah, you can hear it real quick when it turns.
Yeah.
Somebody says something or someone takes a toy that they shouldn't like. it fires off pretty quick.
Yeah, it's on. Jeff, let me ask you this. I know that you and your wife have your hands full, not only with your jobs, but with your kids. What about you guys? Are you guys getting that quality time in together? Because that's important. And it's one of the things that I talk to, the dads that I coach, I talk to them about is to make sure that they're spending times with their wife because yes, your life revolves around your boys right now. It does kind of encompass your world. But in order to maintain that relationship with your wife, you have to make sure you're spending that quality time with just her. It's one of the things that when you get later in life and your kids are grown and out of the house, where you're empty nesters, they say one of the marriages end up in divorce, and one of the leading causes of it is finance. It's actually not finances. It's actually because they don't know each other anymore, because they didn't talk to each other throughout all those years because they were so busy raising families and doing their jobs that they just lose that communication and lose the connection that they had with each other. So then they become empty nesters and they look at each other and it's almost like they go, wait, who are you again? Because I haven't seen you in years because we've been so busy doing our thing. How are you and your wife spending that quality time? And if you're not, is there anything that I can do for you to kind of steer you in that direction? And don't be afraid to admit it if you're not.
Think we try. Like my wife is by far my best friend. Like I adore her. That's my girl right there. It is a struggle to like find that time. Like we'll plan things and then one of the kids gets sick, or so we try to plan stuff. Um, it's interesting, like you said, like through the years, like we've been together for 10 years even. Like you grow as a human, as a person. You aren't the same person you met. She's not the same person you met. So you're continually falling in love over and over with the same person, right? Like we're not the same. And if you're the same, that's kind of scary because you're not showing any growth. Um, we do couples therapy, not because
Good.
we're in trouble, just because sometimes we forget to talk about stuff. So I think that's really important for us. We just started doing that again. We did it kind of during the pandemic when we were driving each other crazy because we were like with each other every second. But now, like as the kids are getting older, we're like, I thought maybe we should do that again. Once every other week, once every three, whatever. Just at least we have someone to talk to for a few months because we forget to check in on each other. And I think it's really important. So yeah, I think we're planning trips for just we went to San Diego together, just the two of us. My in-laws watch the kids. It's good to date her still.
Yeah.
Date your significant other for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome. You remind me a lot of me because my wife and I have been we see a licensed therapist ourselves. We call her our marriage coach, and we've been going to her now for close to 6 years, I want to say.
Nice.
And we see her every couple of months. And it's one of those things. We don't see her because we have problems. We see her so we don't have problems. And we really enjoy going and seeing her. She's like a friend to us now, where we just go. Sometimes there's meetings where we just go and we just chit chat about things, but there are things that have come up that we go, wow, we weren't really realizing that, or we didn't really recognize that. But now that you bring it up, yeah, we do. That is something we need to work on a little bit more. But yeah, we enjoy it. So I commend you for doing that. It's one of the things that I recommend couples do is there's no, people feel taboo about going to a therapist. There's nothing taboo about it, especially when it comes to your marriage. Professional athletes have coaches. When you go to the gym, you have a coach. If you feel something that's not right in your body, you're not feeling that great, you go to a doctor. Something's wrong with your car, you go to a mechanic. Why can't we as couples go to a marriage coach or a licensed therapist and just say, hey, what's going on with us, or what can we do different to help kind of keep our marriage going strong? So for you guys, doing that is awesome. My wife and I have always incorporated at least 2 date nights a month. It's not super, doesn't have to be super expensive. Sometimes it's just an easy dinner. Other times we just go for a drive. During the pandemic, my wife's a type 1 diabetic. We couldn't go out of the house. She was scared to death to go out of the house and do anything. So what we used to do is we used to just jump in the car and we would drive hours I'm talking 2, 3, 4 hours around Southern California. Like we would just hang out around Southern California and just drive the freeways or drive the coast. And that was our time to spend time together, chit-chatting, enjoy the scenery while we're still confined to our car. We didn't have to be out in public, when pandemic was going on, we were still confined in the car, but we got to enjoy hanging out with each other. And I mean, there's other things that we do. We've done puzzles together. We've read marriage books together, just the two of us. But yeah, two date nights a month is what we do. And we make sure that we spend that time together. And our boys know it. This is mine and mom's time. We're going out. We're going now. For us, a little bit easier. Our boys are grown and out of the house, all that kind of stuff. So we can go do what we want to do. But yeah, we make sure it's important because as your kids continue to grow, you need to make sure you're still nurturing that relationship with you and your wife. So good for you for doing that stuff.
without my kids asking me where I'm going. So that's always a problem. But yeah, I think the stigma on couples therapy is a little silly. Like I think a lot of men in general will be like, well, just swallow it, swallow it, swallow it. And then eventually it just blows. It's nothing wrong with just talking. You just talk.
No, nothing wrong with it. I have a personal therapist that I see every 2 weeks, and I do that just to make sure that I'm staying mentally sharp for
Mhm.
whatever it is that I need to do. Do I need to go to a therapist? Absolutely not. But I choose to go to a therapist just so I can make sure that I'm staying in tune with myself and taking care of my body and my mental health as much as possible. Because as I get older, things change when you get older. So I just want to make sure that I'm staying mentally sharp for my family. It's one of the reasons why I work out. It's one of the reasons why I go for a run. I love the fact that you're doing a workout every single day of the year. I did that. Was it last year? No, it was 2 years ago. I did that where I was working out every single day of the year. Oh, no, it was last year. I worked out every single day of the year. And then this 2024, I did 1,200 miles is what I wanted to run. 2023, I did the workout every single day of the year, and it's tough. That is tough.
Awesome. It's
Yeah,
tough. I'm 19 days in. I went this morning already. So like I've been waking up early, but I'm not trying to be like some fitness influencer. Like I'll post on Instagram mostly to keep myself like motivated.
that's
So like
exactly why I
I
do it.
got yeah, I got 19. I got to make sure I get 20. But now people are starting to message me. People at work who know me, like they're like, "Wow, you're really doing this." And they're like, "I'm gonna do that too." So like it's cool. Like you keep each other accountable. But yeah, it's tough, but I feel great. Like I feel very good. So make time for yourself is very important, even when you have kids and a marriage. You got to take care of you.
Yep, absolutely.
You're running is super motivating, dude. Like you're killing it. I see like you run like I have a calf issue. I had two knee surgeries, so running, I love to run, but I like my body, my legs just can't like hold up. So I'm lifting a lot more. But to see like, oh, I see your stories, 22-mile run or what. I'm like, damn, okay, like that's a
Yeah,
that's a lot.
yeah,
You're running marathons just by yourself. I'm like,
yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's something that I love. I've always been a runner. I've been running for close to 20 years. I've always been a runner, but this last year I really stepped it up. I wanted to see if I could do 1,200 miles in a year, and that included three marathons, a bunch of half marathons. I did a Spartan race. This year I'm like, all right, I crushed the 1,200 because I think I did 1,250. I'm like, this year I'm going to do 1,500 miles. And by July, I'm already signed up for 4 marathons just by July.
Beast.
And I want to see if I can hold up and do it, which I know I will because I'll keep myself accountable. But I do the same thing. I post on social media, I post on my story simply because I want to know that I'm keeping myself accountable. And that's how I'm keeping myself like I'm I don't want to lie to myself, so I'm going to post it to prove that I'm not lying to myself that I'm doing it.
100%. I will say too, with working out, like your kids see that. Like
Oh
for any
yeah.
parents out there, your kids see it. My 6-year-old knows like around this time, we're what 12 o'clock, whatever. The little one takes a nap. He's like, "Daddy, can I work out with you?" I will be like, "Yes," every time because he sees me doing it. He wants to do that. So if he wants to join, I'm all in on it. I'll let him go on the treadmill, calm down, parents. But I'll put him at like 3 miles per hour. and he thinks he's Sonic running on that thing. So we'll got some little weights for him, and he's there side by side. He's like, Daddy, let's go outside and run. Let's race. And so like he wants in on it. So I think your kids see the habits that you have, and good or bad. You have the bad habits, they see that too. So I think it's shared by your actions.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, my younger son has never, I mean, even though he played basketball his whole life, he's never been he's always hated running. But last this November-ish, around November-ish, he said, Dad, do you think because I'm running the Mesa Marathon in a couple weeks, he said, Dad, do you think I could do a run at the Mesa Marathon? And I said, well, what do you want to do? And he goes, well, I was thinking like the 10K. And I go, okay, that's 6 miles. I go, yeah, you could do it. You got plenty of time to sign up for it and exercise. And he goes, all right, I'll give it some thought. And I go, no, 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 no. You're not going to give it some thought because if you give it some thought, you're going to talk your way out of doing it. So here's what you're going to do. If you're serious about doing it, which it sounds like you are, then we're going to sign you up and that's going to commit you because now you're signed up. That's going to commit you to having to train for it. And I said, and I'll even go a step further. I'll pay for your sign up. So I'll pay for you to run the 10K, but because I've put my money on the line for you, you have to train for it. And he's like, "Okay, that's a deal." So he's signed up for the 10K. Now, I will say this, he's already told me I'll never do this again because he hates running. But yeah, he's flying out there with me to Mesa to run the 10K with. So I'm super proud. I'll be running the marathon. He'll be running the 10K. But that was I guess my contribution. He saw me do it and got hooked on it and wanted to try it. So
Once he's done, I'm sure he'll be like, wow, he'll feel great. Maybe it
yeah,
won't be the last one. Even though he thinks it might be now, maybe it won't be the last
I
one.
know. I know how that story goes because I get done with my marathons and I go, why in the world did I do that? And
Yeah,
then the next day I'm like, all right, what marathon can I sign up for next?
exactly. Exactly.
Um, well, listen, brother, we've got a long time. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Where's the best place for my listeners to look you up, learn a little bit more
Um,
about you, all that stuff?
I'd say Instagram, YouTube. So Instagram's Jeff underscore the baby dude. Trying to keep up on that. I do want to get into more reviewing just stuff, and then YouTube videos. So keep rolling on that stuff a little bit. So that's also Jeff the baby dude.
All right, cool. We'll make sure we put those in the show notes. I'm so glad we got an opportunity to do this. We're definitely going to meet and do some golf together. Maybe go to lunch, break some bread together. But we're definitely going to do this because we're like practically neighbors in a few towns over. So we're definitely going to get that on the books this year. I promise you that it'll
Yeah,
happen this
like it.
year.
And the drag races are right down the street. Like I've got to know some racers through this stuff. So
I know.
Moa has the races right there.
I know the last time the Winter Nationals you were at, were you there when the plane went down?
It was. It was so bizarre. And the fact that nobody died, that I guess the plane just ran out of gas. So there was no explosion. It just kind of like went down.
Because
Wild. So weird.
I was there just a couple weeks later running a half marathon, and it started on the Pomona drag race. It started on the drag race. It was a holiday Christmas run or something. It was like December 13th or something like that. So I was there just a few weeks later from that. But yeah, I mean, I was like, dang it! I wish Jeff would have told me he was there. I would have went because I honestly thought about going.
We should make that happen.
Yeah, well, so we got springtime nationals
Yep,
coming up, right? So
for
yeah.
sure. Yep.
Um, all right, cool. Listen, guys, this has been another episode of Dad Up. I want to thank my good friend Jeff Cronin for being on the show. You can check out his show note, his links in the show notes below. Really good dude, really good family man. Check out his Instagram because it's all about he and his family. And he certainly is doing what he needs to do as a father. I'm super proud of him for doing that. And if you're not signed up for my show yet, shoot, if you're not signed up for his YouTube channel, make sure you do that, which is in the show notes. And if you're not signed up for my program yet or my YouTube, please make sure you do that so you don't miss any of the awesome guests that I have on each and every week. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode of Dad Up. Wow, another amazing episode in the books. So much was shared, and I'm truly grateful my guest was able to pour into you to help you elevate your dad game and really dad up.
Make sure you bang that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're here, please don't forget to leave me a rating and a review. I always appreciate the feedback. And one last thing, don't forget, your role as a dad is one of the most important roles you have. So if you need a little help or have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website at daduptribe.com or at my Instagram page at daduppodcast. Until next time, everyone, dad up.